at that point, you're not there to play it safe. Like if you're not taking risks, you're not competing.
It's empowering. I mean, anybody who's done a CrossFit workout, you finish your CrossFit workout and you're like, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
Like a hunger for competition and like that super intense structure, routine. I still had that desire.
Listen to the way people feel and the motivations for doing the things that they did. It was like they were describing me to a T.
I'm not trying to solve everything for you, but I know that sometimes you just need somebody to listen.
Learned the most is how to fill my cup by filling others.
Welcome to the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. Join me as I talk with passionate people about their life's failures and successes, and most importantly, what keeps them hungry for more. What up, dogs? Welcome back to another episode of the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. We're joined by Gena Hartwick right now. How are you today? How are you feeling after the meet? I know you told me a little bit just right there, but how was your experience overall, I guess, for that?
Yeah, so I kind of did my very first powerlifting meet as a CrossFitter just to show other fitness sports that were more than kind of like the taboo.
Like
that
kipping pull-ups?
Yeah, cheating pull-ups, whatever, the jokes, that the memes on Instagram. And the powerlifting sport here in Arkansas has just really embraced my husband and I with open arms. And it's been really cool to just kind of transition. Well, I'm a CrossFitter at heart, so I'm never going to leave CrossFit, but it's been fun to just, like, hop over there and participate in their sports and learn a lot. Like there's some things that I've learned from powerlifting that I've been able to take back into CrossFit, into my training.
So on that note, right? Masters Fitness Collective that I just talked about was 3 days, I believe, last year. This powerlifting meet is going to be probably, you'll do your 9 lifts over 4 hours, 6 hours, something like that at most.
Yeah.
So what was your training like as you're preparing for something that's so much shorter than what you're used to?
Powerlifters aren't going to like this, but so much easier than a 3-day CrossFit comp. But,
yes.
A 3-day CrossFit comp, you're doing typically 9 events. They're max effort. There's a lot of running, swimming, max lift. And for powerlifting, you get to do, I think I lifted about once every 15 minutes for the squats, and the bench presses moved a little bit quicker than that. And then deadlifts probably 1 every 10 minutes. So you're doing 1 lift, resting, coming back, and you're doing 9 lifts over the whole day. So definitely
even
not
shorter than what I said, like 3 hours,
Yeah. Yeah. So, whenever you're getting into the high end weights, it is, your CNS takes a beating. But overall, my body feels great.
Do you consider yourself like a barbell girl when it comes to CrossFit, or did it just materialize that you were like good at this stuff? Did you love that beforehand, or like what's your kind of go-to for CrossFit?
So when I met you at MFC, that was my first big CrossFit competition post spinal fusion surgery.
Oh man.
So I had major back surgery in 2020, L5S1, I got fused. And previous to that, my husband actually dressed me for a whole year. I couldn't put socks and shoes on or pants on myself. Damn. And I went from 2019, I was the fittest female in Arkansas in the state, to literally like a month later, I couldn't dress myself. And
wow.
There was no accident, anything like that. It was just a dead disc. Anything could have happened. But about 2 years, into progression, you meet me at MFC, a little bit longer than that. And I had a whole lot of nerves going into that. But on my comeback from surgery, we really concentrated on strength, because if my body's not strong enough to hold up to the demands of CrossFit, I can't do it.
Yeah.
You go to competition and you push yourself to failure, then that is going to potentially open me up for like an injury. So strength has just been what we've hammered, and we've done a good job.
And
but
like
now
this,
we have to get
what you did this past weekend was like the byproduct of that, right? Like you just saw for rehabbing from that. So, man, I feel like this is a question for later on, but I kind of want to ask it so bad right now. When you injured yourself and you get a diagnosis and you're like in the thralls of the injury, was there ever a point where you're like, I'm not going to come back? Or were you like full steam ahead right from the beginning?
Never was a thought. I was always going to get better. I'm a competitor deep inside. Now, I mean, if I had surgery and they said you're never going to compete again, honestly, I could have made my peace with it just to be pain-free. But my surgeon, he treated me like an athlete. He used to CrossFit with us at our gym. He took really good care of me, but he's like, I think that this can get you back to doing Hartwick things, is actually what he said. We can give you
Hartwick things. Hell yeah.
And every time, like after I set my world record squat this weekend, I text him on Sunday and I'm just like, thank you, dude. You gave me my life back.
Whew, man. All right. So I really want to go back to the beginning, but I want to hear about the weekend a little bit more. So tell me, what did you hit for the squat, the bench, and the deadlift?
I squatted 440 pounds, which for my
That's
age
a lot
and
of
weight
weight.
class, I'm a master's athlete, 38 years old. And I weighed in at 162. My weight class was 165. So for my age and weight, that was a world record squat.
Damn. Hell yeah. So now what's next? The bench press? What'd you hit for that?
Bench press, we benched 203. So it's in kilos, so it comes out kind of funky in pounds, but 203 is what we got on the bench. And my overall goal, I wanted, obviously the squat is what I came for, but 1,000-pound total is considered an elite total in women powerlifting. So I wanted 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Total. So for my second deadlift, we deadlifted 358, and that gave me my 1,000-pound total. So.
Damn. So you was there for the squat too. That number put you up super high. Like, when did it come to you that you could go set this world record? When did you first hear like about it, that like, oh, I could push to this number?
So last year in December was my second meet, and I actually set the world record last year at 413 pounds. So I actually broke my own world record for this year.
By a wide margin too. But that's 27 pounds. That's crazy. Yeah. So then I'll read the recap. I hosted an event called the Super Total where we do those 3 lifts plus the Olympic lifts, right? And like
I love that.
So some of the like higher level girls there are getting like 1,200 pounds. I think the highest girl ever was like 14. That's with an additional 2 lifts. And I see that you post 1,000, like I think 33, a few pounds over just 1,000, not just that even number. I'm like, wow, in 3 lifts, my head starts turning. I'm like, she's probably up to like 14, probably. If you put all 5 together, that's super cool.
I don't deadlift much, obviously, with my back. I have no pain, no restrictions. It's just one of those things that whenever I start pulling over 300 pounds, the risk reward just isn't there for me. So I'll pretty much only pull in a meet, and that's about it, over 300 pounds.
I totally hear that. Like, CrossFitters, we don't need to deadlift a whole bunch. As long as you could do it on the day that it matters, that's really, only thing you got to worry about. We have a master's athlete at our gym that he says like he knows that he's got about 20 to 25 total max lifts of the deadlift left in him, and he wants to use them sparingly, of the upwards of 90% and higher, So now let's take it back. I can tell you're competitive, right? Where did that come from? Like, how long have you played sports? Tell me an instance where you first noticed that you were a competitive person.
So I didn't have a really great home life as a kid. I actually moved out whenever I was a senior in high school. I worked a couple of jobs to get through college. So I don't have like your normal story. I wasn't an athlete.
Hell yeah, I love that.
Graduated college. I married Greg, who has an incredible athletic pedigree. We stumble into a CrossFit gym because our friends, were like, y'all be really good at this. Come check it out. We went to one class, fell in love with it. And he was kind of like the show pony because he's just like this beautiful, studly man that's great at everything that he does. And I just kind of like fell to the back, like I didn't get a whole lot of attention or coaching. And it pissed me off, honestly.
Yes.
So I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm going to get really good at this, and I'm just going to kick everyone's ass in this gym right now.
So, like, how long ago was that? Like, when was that on your marriage timeline? How far ago was that?
It was our first year marriage, and we've been married 10 years now. So we're talking like a 9-year journey for right here. So
you had no athletic background, really, like, never pushed into wanting to like set records, beat other people, like really push yourself before?
No. I mean, I'm a fighter, but I was literally just like fighting to get the life that I wanted, right?
Yeah.
Work as many jobs as I needed to work. I graduated with honors from college. I'm the first college graduate in my family, so I just was finally able to like transition that into a sport. And at 27 years old, CrossFit gave me the platform to be an athlete.
It's like literally a trailblazer, right? You don't get to use that word often and like
Yeah.
actually mean what it is, but like a trailblazer. So how does it go in your first year of CrossFit? You know, what were the things that you struggled with the most? What did you love at first? All that
Man,
stuff.
I couldn't do a strict pull up. Like, I mean, I had abs. I always worked out. I just didn't. There's a difference in working out and training.
Yeah.
So learning how to train and learning capacity and the different energy systems and all those things. I have a master's in nutrition, so I understand, like the food relationship and things like that. But even
So
that's
you came into it with that in your mind already. You understood like one side of it. You just didn't have like the other
right,
side.
right. And yeah, I had a guy. They were trying to pick me up for a team, and they said, "Well, what about Gena? She looks like she's pretty fit." He's like, she looks fitter than she is. And
Oh,
I was like, that will be the last time anybody ever says that about me.
damn. So people are still like lighting fires under you, even though that you were competitive. Like, what
Yeah,
about that? Have you always kind of been like that? Like you get a little chip on your shoulder and you're like, all right, I got to go kind of beat this right now.
for sure. Unfortunately, I didn't really have a life where I had a whole lot of positive movement, to push me to go do things. So if you want to fire me up, talk shit.
Hell yeah. That's what you got to use sometimes, bro.
Yeah.
Like, so I have this question for you. How do you feel about trash talk in sport specifically, or I should say just objectively? And then how do you feel about it in the CrossFit space? Do you think trash talk has a place in all sports?
I mean, like, I'll talk trash to like my training partners, like joking, but whenever I'm competing, I really I want to beat you on your
Locked
best
in.
day. And I think that it should be a positive thing. We have an opportunity to make each other better. The better you are, the better that I am, and we have the opportunity to elevate each other together. I love competing with the girls that I go with. We go all over the country to different ones, and it's great. Like, if I'm still going, they're cheering me on. If I finish before them, they're cheering me on. Like, that's how it's supposed to be.
Oh yeah, so you keep it positive in there, but you got that fire burning. I like that.
Yeah.
So speaking of, the difference between training and working out, when did it make that switch? Like, was it around that time the person said that, oh, Gena's pretty fit? Like after that, when did that start coming up?
I think that it was just, and I mean, we're talking, 9, 8 years ago. I think that CrossFit has come even a long way since then too. We
Changed
have
so
way
much,
more
right?
access to programming and things like that. Back then, it was just your affiliate owner was still writing whatever you did for the day. Normally, they're up at 11 o'clock at night typing something out to throw up on Wi-Fi.
Right now, wall balls and chest to bar 3 times a week, something like that.
Yeah, and it was literally like just max lift every day. And so I think that probably around 2017, 2018 is whenever it started making a little bit more sense with methodology and all that stuff. I got a coach that helped me. He was OPEX and got a pretty good little training schedule with that and understood the energy systems in depth more around that time.
So do you feel like your nutrition background played like one of the biggest parts in how successful you were able to be in recovery and like your general fitness program right now? Like since you already had all that in there?
I think it gave me a little bit of an advantage. I have sought out some more education specifically for athletes to be able to help CrossFitters and things like that. But I have some marathon people or triathletes that will ask me, and that's still just a little bit different than CrossFit.
Right.
You feel differently for all of them.
Yeah. Do you guys, especially since you're like a married couple, and do you have a lot of friends that don't exercise? Or is it mostly just the fitness community?
Mostly.
Like, and do you ever deal with, we were talking about the internet people earlier, like people giving you shit for being a woman with muscles and like your life being fitness? Like, how do you deal with those people?
Why would I care what they think?
Hell yeah. I always say that. Like, I see people responding to idiots on Instagram, and it can be fun sometimes, right? Just to put that. How do you feel first about the CrossFit Open and an online competition? Like, do you love the Open?
I love the Open. We're an affiliate owner here in Little Rock. It's just like this magic that happens. You get a girl that's been scared to do a muscle up and she gets her first muscle up, or, whenever somebody PRs their 1 rep thruster, I don't just like the energy that happens. I love it.
So how do you feel about it as an athlete?
I love doing it as an athlete too.
The online part of it doesn't throw you off at all, and you don't think that. Do you think the right people are making it through to quarterfinals and semis?
Yeah, which I mean, I haven't gone to semis or anything like that, and I did do the quarterfinals last year just to like go through the process, but it was never a goal of mine to go to the CrossFit Games. Top 10 is just not an option for me. I work a lot of hours, then we have the gym. So just top 10 is not feasible for me. I have too much on my plate. But I mean, this kind of takes it a chunk forward, but going to top 40 changes things for me.
Oh yeah. So we'll get to that part. I want you to talk about just the open first. What about the logistics and the layout? How do you feel about that stuff? It's a hot button topic right now on Instagram that, HQ wants as many people as possible to do the CrossFit Open, and they want them to be doing it in affiliates and outside of it. Did you have any problems last year running the workouts at your gym, like space wise, timeline wise? Like, how did this year's last Open go for you guys, I guess?
We're blessed with a pretty large facility, so we didn't run into space issues really, but it does make it hard to make sure, like the more rules you put on it, the harder it is to abide by. You start micromanaging and it just makes it really difficult. And maybe athlete in lane 1 has somebody that has a judge that they've done everything right, but lane 3 has a judge that didn't really understand something and they kind of got away with something that wasn't quite to standard. Like you're going to find that. And I think the more you micromanage, the more of that you run into.
Yeah. And hey, if there's a couple 100,000 people doing the Open, right? Like not everyone's going to have the best reps for everything.
Yeah.
And if we truly want people to just be working out more and more, then how big of sticklers can we get? Like we run it the Friday night lights at our gym every year too. And like we're starting to think about the CrossFit Open as if it's like a community 5K, if that kind of makes sense, that the best people in town don't sign up for it to just crush it, like you get all walks of life doing that 5K to kind of move their body just because they can. And if the CrossFit Open could do that, that sounds pretty cool to me. And if they could also crown the fittest people on earth at the end of it, that also sounds pretty cool. It was, we're a pretty big size gym, but we struggled a little bit with like the spacing issues. But like when you see the backlash online, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can agree with this. I enjoy doing it, especially now that it's 3 weeks instead of 5, were you guys open when it was 5 weeks still?
Yeah. I'm so glad it's not 5 weeks anymore.
I was just going to ask, do you have that belief?
By like week 5, I felt like I was way less fit than I was. Like it took me 3 months back.
Right. It's like, okay, guys, you want me to go for 5 weeks the whole time. And they have what's supposed to be the separator workout in weeks 4 and 5, but it's like, I'm dead by that point already, so how much can I really put into it? So what about when quarterfinal starts popping up? What was your initial thoughts on that? Like, how do you feel about it now? Is it a good idea to put something in between, like, what was the Open and what, like semifinals is basically regionals now. Is it a good idea to put like that middle step in there?
I think so. I don't love for the Masters that it's all online, but I do understand logistics as far as getting people to them. So I'm not going to complain much. I did listen to a podcast for what they're looking to do this year, which I think is great. Having everybody, following the same programming, the Masters and the youngsters, and it all being at the same time. In the years past, it's not been very attractive to me because like a score was due on like Friday morning. Like I would have had to take off work Thursday and Friday to do these online workouts, and I was just like, I'm not doing that,
Right.
So
that's really hard because
that up will change that.
You ask people to, commit more time to it and make it accessible for more people. And then you make it in the middle of work days. Yeah. It's like, all right, well, which one is the true one? Are you really marketing to higher level athletes or are you marketing to the everyday person with this Open and quarterfinals? I'm interested to see now, specifically with that point in mind, what it's going to look like with 15% more people You know, how many of those people will actually be able to sign up and register with it if you have to do like those 2 or 3 windows? That's what you're talking about. Like you had to have one score in by Friday at like 1 o'clock. Like what?
Yeah.
Who can work out hard and go put their time in by that time and then like do it the rest of the weekend too, just with the schedule for work alone? You know.
I did
What a,
like the committing basically 3 weekends out of your, your spring to it. That was something I never really loved either. But
yeah,
that's
like
the thing.
for affiliates, right? Because then you
Yeah.
have the different groups that are going to be going at different times. That was really hard for us too. It's like you set up for the open first, and then you're like, all right, wind down for a week or two, set up for the next age group, wind down, set up for the next one. That's annoying. I would definitely rather get it all out in one go if you could.
Yeah.
Speaking of like some programming stuff, who does the programming for your affiliate?
We follow Mayhem.
Nice. Have you guys been doing that for a long time, or have you guys ever spent time like programming yourselves?
So our business partner programmed for the gym for a long time, and he did a great job. But there's just so many resources that Mayhem has available. And Chris Black is my partner's name, but it gives him more time for his family. The programming is affordable. Like it made sense. And the amount of time that he spent on it, just giving that part of his life back,
That's awesome. And then back to like the CrossFit Open. What's been some of your favorite new things that have popped up? Did you like the wall walks? Did you hate wall walks?
Yeah.
Gina, I
I'm
like
heavy.
you so much more.
Of course, I don't like wall walks. And I don't mind the others, but the pullovers, I don't mind those terribly, but I can't string them together. I do one at a time.
Yeah, you're just slamming yourself on the bar at the top and then have to push super hard away.
Yeah.
So are you looking towards the 2024 season? What's your preparation like going forward into the next year?
Well, you had kind of mentioned like an off season and on season earlier too. So like if we take my 2023, I trained for Monster Games, which is in Joplin, Missouri. Have you heard of Monster Games?
Yeah. When was that this year?
It was in July. Yeah. And so I did the Masters division there. It's a great event. And Jason that's who runs Monster Games. He's partnering with Legends. Yeah, I'm excited to see what that has in store because he does such a great job with Monster Games. I think that them pulling him over to Legends is going to be pretty cool. But that was my only CrossFit comp, big one that I did. And then I knew I was going to do the powerlifting meet. So at 38 years old, I look at the schedule and go, I basically have 2 in me. What are they going to be? And I have to look. Yeah. And they have to be spaced out. So I have proper time to recover and peak for them.
Do you count the qualifiers for those potential things in there? Like if you do if you're like, all right, I want to make it to maybe Legends next year for the games, does the open and quarters count in your account for those things? Like, will you do something else next year?
So for Monster Games, I didn't have to do any qualifier last year. And they just recently announced that they're going to be making some changes for 2024. So that's made me re-look at my whole year schedule. So in just the general open last year, I finished 64th. So I'm too close to not try.
Right.
So we're going to go for it. So I'm changing up all of my training, and I'm really blessed with some training partners that are willing to do it with me. And I'm all fitness from here. So I'm going to do the open, I'll do semis, and I'm going to do quarters, and we'll see what happens. But that's all that's on my schedule for next year. And if I don't make the games, then I will be doing Monster Games with Jason in July.
Well, because that'll be right there for you. There's no qualifiers for that. When will you kick up the full intensity for the training for next year?
Today, baby.
Oh, have you trained already, or is it going on later?
We're going to it today.
Hell yeah.
So I told you I work a lot. I work a salary job. I'm normally at my desk 6:45 in the morning, and I normally eat lunch at my desk. I don't leave until 5. So there's not any extra time for me to get that in during the week. So I'm going to switch to 2-a-days on Saturday and Sunday. Monday will be a rest day. I'll have regular training days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'll rest Friday. So that's what that's going to look like for me.
That'll be so dope. Well, have you ever done 2-a-days before, like preparing for anything else?
No. So we're going to have to be really smart about recovery.
Yeah. Oh, so that's perfect. I wanted to ask you about that. Do you write your own nutrition plan? Do you follow anything specific? Do you count macros? How does that go?
Yeah, so I count macros whenever I'm in training. So like leading up to Monster Games, I tracked my food. Leading up to this powerlifting meet, I tracked my food. But whenever I'm not like close to prep, I normally eat the same thing, so I try not to nitpick much. My body weight normally stays about the same, but just to make sure that I'm getting enough food, I will be tracking my food during these 2-a-days biofeedback. And I do occasionally get a nutrition coach, depending on like what my life looks like. If I'm not giving it the attention that I need, then Jamie Free, he owns CrossFit Trivium in Nashville. He's a master's athlete as well. He's normally my go-to nutrition coach. He's Brooke Wells' nutrition coach. He's got a lot of really high-end athletes that he coaches for.
So we need somebody besides you to like give you that extra nudge, tell you like what you should be doing, what to back off of, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, just having somebody else look at my biofeedback, like maybe I'm tired or whatever, and I'm going to just push through it because I don't know. Sometimes I just don't give myself grace, I guess. I'm just like, oh, whatever, you're tired, get over it.
It's hard to take your foot off the pedal, it's just a difficult thing to do.
Yeah. And so having somebody else there, to be like, whoa, 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 what about this? What about this? I'm like, oh, I wasn't thinking about that,
That's great. So what about for the actual workouts themselves? Like how many training partners will you have? Are they going to be there for the full 2-a-days? How long do you plan on having those sessions?
Well, it's just going to kind of go by feel for now. And just because we're going to be in the gym twice a day on those days doesn't mean that the intensity is crazy, right? My goal is just to get like 1% better. Like maybe it's just skill focused or maybe a little bit of interval training. It doesn't mean that I'm going in there and just doing max effort stuff, for all those days.
Just blasted it every day. That's not how you get better, folks out there.
No, that is not how you get better. I think there's 4 or 5 of us. And I didn't ask these guys to do this with me. They just jumped all in. They're like, hell yeah, we want to be a part of it. So I'm super blessed. My training partner, she was a college swimmer and I think she's been doing CrossFit about 2 years. She qualified for the intermediate division last year, Monster Games. And she's trying to qualify for RX this year, just to kind of give you an idea where she's at in her fitness journey. But she's badass, man. She's got a lot of fitness there. She's lacking some high-end skills that she's gotten a lot better at the last 6 months. So I'm excited to see what this does for her too. And she's going to help me swim. I need that.
Right. That's the hardest skill to pick up for so many people, right? You're in an iron sharpens iron kind of like mindset right now. So for you, if you're training for something, right, you have this big goal in mind, like 5 months out, what would you rather have to aid you to get to that goal? Like the best coach and program or just really great training partners? What do you think will make you better?
Man, it's a good question. I couldn't do it without my husband. He's my biggest support and I don't have a coach. He's not coaching me per se, but he's definitely that for me, going to motivate me, keep me on task. He has his own goals that he's doing too, but just having him there, he can tell me if I'm being a baby or whatever. He's about the only person that can talk to me that way. I've followed Mayhem for probably the last 2 years personally. I follow Mayhem compete and I just kind of modify for myself on it. I don't know if I need a coach or not. I'm going to roll without one and I'm going to be relying on my training partners, I guess.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like for me, everyone can have the best program in the world, but if you don't put the intensity to it, and if you don't want to like, honestly, if you don't have someone with you that is like really going to push with you, that like we could be best friends afterwards, but I really want to beat you in this. Yeah. It's going to be hard to get better at things. It's going to be hard to make that translate out on the floor anywhere. We talked about that chip on the shoulder earlier,
That's what I do love about Hannah is that if I let off the gas for a second, She coming.
But yeah, with people that don't let you just like take it easy,
Yeah.
those are some of my favorite, especially as a coach, things to watch when like you see one person go balls to the wall and the other person back up a little bit. It's a very, very subtle thing that you can see in the races sometimes that develop in these events, these workouts, but it can be really fun to see like that person that's willing to push like past that dark zone.
Yeah. I've had training partners before that are kind of like, Gena's goal is to do 10, so I'm going to do 6.
Yeah.
And whenever Hannah's
It's
like,
like, no, you gotta do 11.
yeah. If I'm like, well, I'm going to do 10, she was like, I was thinking 12. I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing 12.
Like, okay, well, I'm thinking 13 now. How about you? Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's
We've got a
hilarious.
couple boys in there too that are really good. But we just have a ton of fun, and it's honestly changed my life training. I've trained by myself for a long time, and being able to have fun with these guys has just brought some life back to me and has me really excited for the next season.
That's so dope. When you were training by yourself, because I train mostly by myself now, like what kept you motivated? Was there any big thing, or did it like change throughout the years as you were doing that?
I mean, originally it just kind of started, I guess, with that chip on my shoulder. Like,
Right.
I felt like I had something to prove. And then you just set new goals, like I wanted to go to Wadapalooza and I wanted to go to Granite Games and different things. And, so those are kind of the things that motivated me to continue training.
I'm just thinking about if someone said, or if I heard someone say she looks fitter or he looks fitter than he actually is. Oh, I'm going to go hit it pretty hard after that shit. That would definitely light a fire for me. Now, I feel like you told us a little bit, but what are you most hungry for going forward?
The only thing I've got on my calendar next year is try to make the games. If I can get there with a whole lot of heart and leftover time, then that's what we got.
like I survived. I made it. It might be a little bandaged up, but I'm going to keep going forward with it.
Yeah, I think that some people get, and that this is their business, however they want to approach their life, but, they put CrossFit as number one in their life, or I think that could translate to any sport, honestly, but my marriage is number one. So as long as me and my husband are good, then I'm good. I have financial goals, financial freedom. My job is important to me. My gym's important to me. And my fitness has to fit in under that. So as long as those top priorities are lined out and going good, then I can carry on. I'm not willing to sacrifice my real life for CrossFit life.
I love that. You said you guys have been together for 10 years, married for 10 years?
Married for 10. Yeah.
Did young Gena, like 20-year-old Gena, think that you were going to be married and that like your relationship would be this big a part of your life? Like the number one thing to you?
Before I met him, I thought I was going to be single forever, honestly.
Damn, that's awesome. And they just like transformed your life.
That's
yeah, crazy.
He just came in and snatched me up, and I don't know, we've just been doing it. I feel like I met my equal in life. I told him I always want forward motion. I always have a new goal, and it's not always the same. It's not always fitness, but maybe it's a retirement goal or savings goal or whatever, business related. I was like, if you don't come with me, I will step over you. You have to level up with me, because there's always going to be something new I'm chasing down. That's just who I am. And every time he steps right up, and sometimes it's him, hey babe, I want to chase this. I'm like, let's go get it.
Yeah. Two fires that keep each other alight,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And sometimes he'll kind of try to talk me down. He's like, are you sure this is the smartest thing? And when I look at him, I'm like, hey, this is what I want to do. And he goes, okay, let's figure it out.
Oh yeah. Are you an easy person to trust other people, or does that come like sparingly?
I try to give you the benefit of the doubt going into it. And if you mess it up, it's game over.
Ooh, there's no second chances.
No.
That's funny.
Don't lie to me. If you lie to me, done.
That's the big one, the big red flag.
Yeah. I don't need a big circle. I need a loyal circle.
Hell yeah. Like one of my biggest morals is like what I say I'm going to do, I want to do that. Like it'll eat me up inside if I don't do the thing that I say I'm going to do to the person, especially if I really care about them. Do you have like a big moral code, like one thing that you really abide by like that?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the truth is a big deal to me. And if I mess up, I want the opportunity to apologize, or, like I never intentionally hurt somebody, but I'm pretty rough around the edges and I'm very direct. So that comes with a lot of hurt feelings for other people a lot of times. And so that's not my intent. So I will apologize very quickly because I know kind of how rough it comes off. And so I want to take ownership of that and make people as comfortable as I can that are going to be around me. But I can't change who I am at the end of the day either.
Yeah. I mean, I relate to that completely.
Yeah. That kind of dog in me is what's gotten me where I'm at today. And I don't regret it at all.
Did it take you a while to find that empathy, not sympathy, to realize that other people can't take things as harshly as you probably could?
Yeah. I think that just kind of growing up and like having emotional awareness, like I'm very comfortable with who I am. And that can be off-putting to people too. I'm told a lot that I'm intimidating, and I can really quickly strike an insecure like chord in somebody and not realize it, because I'm very secure and I don't think about those things. I'm completely happy with who I am, where I'm at in life. I'm proud of myself, the things that I've overcome. And that comes from just things that I've actually had to do, my back surgery and taking care of myself I look at 17-year-old kids now and I go, how in the hell did I move out on my own at 17 years old? Like, don't know how to work a washing machine, so it doesn't come from a place of like conceited or anything like that. It's just like, I've literally taken on the world and I've survived. And like, that's where it comes from for me. And so I want to touch people in a positive way. And I don't want, however that comes off, to ruin my heart, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, with the voice thing, it's like sometimes I will talk passionately to someone because I care about them. If I don't care about you, I will probably not say anything. Yeah. And it's only within the past 2 to 3 years that I've learned that even with the best intentions, you can still hurt somebody's emotions, and their emotions are valid, even though they're different than mine. But it's been a long journey to like, I guess, realize something like that your intentions don't always trump someone else's feelings and emotions.
For sure. I get a lot of shit for cussing too. I
Same.
Talk like that. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know. It's just the way I talk.
It's just how it comes out. And I'm usually pretty good with it. Yesterday, I was coaching this class and like I was just really flowing with it. And I dropped about 3 F-bombs in my class. I mean, it was all like adults that were fine with it. But I'm like, damn, I could kind of let it go a little bit if I'm just talking regularly. I
don't even notice it. But yeah, whenever I coach a class, sometimes somebody's like, why does she cuss so much? I'm like, I'm sorry. It's just how I talk.
It's just how it came out.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about what I'm saying. I mean it. I mean this shit,
Yeah. And Greg has helped me a lot with realizing, as far as softening my words to other people, or, not taking it personal whenever somebody's offended or whatever, that it maybe doesn't even have anything to do with me. It's something, that's beyond me.
But the last little bit of this podcast went off in a direction that I didn't even foresee, but I really love that. Talking about like how emotional maturity and awareness is important, like in your overall development, and something that I hope that people, the listeners out there, take away from this is that you are a big time athlete, and that may be how you present in your life because you are super fit and you are competitive there. But the biggest parts of this conversation and what seems to be your life is your relationships, your main relationship, your marriage, and the relationship that you have with everyone around you. And so I really love that. And like I said, I hope everyone can take that away from this podcast episode.
I appreciate that. Having good people around me means a lot to me. And I want to pour into people I have poured into the wrong people before. So I'm a little bit, reluctant sometimes, but whenever you're close to me, I will give you absolutely everything I've got to give.
Yeah, I relate to that. It's hard. It's when you've lost trust beforehand, it's hard to rebuild it with others and like give it to them, All right, dogs. This has been a great episode. This has been Gena Hartwick out here. Be able to look for this game season. Regina, peace.
Thanks.